Welcome back to another day here on the Winter's Lorcana channel. Don't click away. A lot of you have been watching the intros to see the deck tech and then leaving because you don't like the AI content. I get it. That can be a little rough to see all the time. We're not doing that this year. This is the year of live content, and today's video will be against a live opponent, and last video was also against live opponents. So if you want to see live content, well, we're finally doing it. Finally found the way to do it and move forward with it. And let me just say, it's nice having an actual local play group, actually having a real scene. That was a big issue last year. We didn't have those, so we didn't have the people. So that was really tough. Now we can do it. Now, let's talk about today's deck. Shawn L. I do apologize, Shawn. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, and I don't want to butcher it. So we're not even going to try. But Shawn played a Steelsong deck and came 7th place in the North American Nationals. So I'm lovingly calling this the Shawnsong deck. Sounds good. The Shawnsong. There are 3 little oddballs to this deck that I want to kind of look at, and that is Lilo, Escape Artist. It's an oddball. It's a one of. Feels strange. Feels like you want to have it more consistently if you're going to have it at all. So, a little strange. Naveen, Prince Naveen, ukulele player. Also a one of. Makes it a little bit of an oddball. I like the consistency of being able to turn 4 into a whole new world. That's nice. Or even, you know, the turn 2 is there with the queen. That's possible. But you're an oddball for being a one of. Feels like, again, the consistency might not be there. And the other oddball is Ariel, Sonic Warrior. A card that seemingly, historically, hasn't been good enough to be in competitive decks. But here we are with one of them making it into the top 7. Now, strange card. It can, when it does its thing, it's really fun, but it doesn't do its thing very often. And then as a one of in the deck, I mean, you almost never see this. It certainly feels like an oddball. Now, Steelsong, our deck really thrives on hitting the curve, and a really powerful curve, of course, is turn 1 Little Queen, turn 2 Big Queen, and just single whole new world. It's powerful disruption for the opponent, and we get a reload our hand, and we just have so much in the way of removal. Now, I have played these games as of this moment. The game's already played. If I was going to change something, I would change World's Greatest Criminal Mind. I do understand that this can hit some important targets like Tamatoa. Big Sisu is a good target for this. Or you could even combo it with the Queen to get this to work. Now, I've played this deck, this exact list, 10-ish different times against a bunch of different decks and repeats for some of them. And I never once was able to use this just at all. That into sentence. I was never able to use it. It just never came up, never was important. I get it. For the Nationals, like, yeah, you want that because you expect the red blue, you expect to see the Sisus, the Mauis, like all that stuff is going to be there. I get it. But in my local play group, this was the most underwhelming, most feel bad card to draw. So if I was going to change anything, it would be that. But it's a pretty fun deck. Let's jump on in and see if we can't win a few. All right, we are actually being joined by Gambit yet again for today's video. We have 2 games lined up for you, and we are starting off against Blurple, one of my favorite decks out there. But it just hasn't seemed to do very well in a lot of tournaments until recently. Blurple it was in Nationals. That's super exciting for the future of what Blurple can accomplish. So we are playing against that today in our first match. Now, before we really dive in, I want to take a moment to let you guys all know that there is another video. In fact, there's a couple of videos now over on Patreon, where if you are a Patreon member at any of the paid tiers, including the $1 tier, you can see those videos. There's going to be another video coming out in 2 days from the release of this here on YouTube. And additionally, if you jump into the $25 tier, you'll be entered into our monthly raffles. This month, I'm giving away a booster box of Shimmering Skies, but next month I will be giving away, provided that they get here in time, I will be giving away 3 booster boxes of the Japanese first chapter release. Now, mind you, those are 16-pack booster boxes, and each pack contains 6 cards. So there's that to consider, but I do have a handful of them. I'm going to be giving 2 away to a grand prize winner and 1 away to a second place winner. So again, that's at the $25 tier. But really, if you really want to support the channel, The link is in the description down below. That $1 a month honestly provides more for keeping this channel going and paying for all the things I need to film these games. Way more so than YouTube ad revenue. Enough of that. Link is in the description down below. We are playing aggro against Blurple here. Well, Steelsong. It does very much have an aggro shell. We have our Cindy down. We have a Daisy down. And going against Blurple, I'm not 100% sure what we should be trying to do, but Blurple can have a hard time. Not always, but Blurple can have a hard time with a go wide strategy. They don't have much in the way of board wipes, pretty much at all, because, you know, it is what it is. But the Amethyst, the purple of it, they do have Mims, they do have rush characters, there are Elsas to consider. Big Elsa can tap down our stuff. So my game plan here, I think, is to just try to go wide and get as much value as possible. So I am establishing a very good quester in Daisy and some really good singers with Gaston and Cinderella. And there we go. Daisy is already feeding Gambit a Hades, which is not great for us. I actually don't feel great about spending the strength here, but I do feel it could be important to keep his board as clear as possible. That way he can't ideally slam down a fox on us. There's nothing to bounce. So he'll have to invest into getting something into play to then bounce it. That's my thought process. So will it pay off? We'll find out. He does have a lot of ramps, so it's not like it costs him a lot of in the way of resources. Tipo coming down, establishing that ramp we're talking about. And it's the late game I think I'd be most concerned about against Blurple. The Hades and the Elsas can be problematic. They're not game ending for us necessarily, but we can run out of gas. And if we run out of gas and they have those, it can be challenging. And there it is. They did have to commit something to the board so they could fox. Unfortunately, that thing ramped them, so Tipo getting some play in regardless of the fact that he doesn't get to stick around. But I have a feeling he'll be back soon. Drawing plenty of removal. I'm noticing I have the Prince Naveen, so there's a good chance here that I can just clear up the board and efficiently use a majority of the cards in my hand. Oh, and we get the whole new world. That pretty much solidifies it. We're inking Lawrence here. We are going to, since I could play the Zeus, but there's no targets except for my own characters, so that's silly. So we're just going to slam down the Naveen here, hit him with the whole new world. And look at that. We got the Hades we knew about, but he also had one of his Elsas. So that's one problematic character just gone. The downside, of course, though, is we are letting him draw 7 cards, and he could just simply get another one. So we'll see about that. Could be a little too soon for him to deploy it. But nothing else we can really do this turn except quest, so we will. We'll quest with the Gaston. Again, he has nothing in play, so my removal's not hitting anything. And here we go. Blurple doing Blurple things. He has all of the ink in the world already. This is a game that I feel we want to try to end as quick as possible. So maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive looking for Daisies and Mr. Smees. Things that just quest for 2 rather quickly with some decent sized bodies on them, so they're difficult to handle. Like Cinderella's a great 1-drop for sure, especially if you don't know what you're playing against initially. But there's a Mr. Smee. That's actually really, really good for us. So top decking exactly what we're starting to feel like we want to find. Just taking a moment here to assess my hand to see what it is we're going to do exactly. It's a little bit of a, we don't have a ton of ink, so it's, do I get resources with Ariel, which I have opted to do here, or do I attempt to go wide? And getting resources with Ariel is nice. Like I said, trying to keep his board clean can be really important for us, especially in the early game as we're trying to develop the board. Like I said, we don't have all of the ink in the world, so we only get to do 1 or 2 characters a turn. So keeping his board under control at the same time is pretty critical, I feel. Now, we do have some more options here. I definitely want to get the Smee down. Let's see if I actually committed to it. I did play these games last night in retrospect to me doing the voiceover here. Speaking of playing these games last night, oh, there it is. I did get the Smee. I'm a smart boy. I recorded a bunch of games, and it turned out for the footage for that, there was an awful glare and you couldn't see the characters in play. So I actually had to re-record new games to get footage that you guys could enjoy without it being terribly obnoxious. Real quick here, I am thinking to myself, if I hit the Hades with the Zeus, I could quest, and if Hades wants to get something off the board, he'll have to trade. I did consider, and I even said it out loud to Gambit during that moment, I am worried about him bouncing it, just because then it's a wasted card. So we'll see. I didn't want to not do it and then try to quest, because then Hades gets to attack for free, and we don't want that. I figure if we're going to have Hades do something, we want him to just simply get bounced, and that be the end of it. He gets very lucky though. He happens to have removal that Hades can sing in hand. Blurple not having a ton of removal, but here it is. He happens to have some, so he gets to actually do something with the Hades. And on top of that, he does in fact get to bounce it. And there it is. There's the Fox, which is going to take out yet another character of ours, which is unfortunate. That is exactly the line we didn't want to see. Anyway, the original footage, as I was saying, so much glare on it, you couldn't see it. The footage was bad. So just a special shout out to you, Gambit, for letting me take the time to come into your home and record some games. I really do appreciate it. Saved my bacon on this one. I could have edited the footage with a bunch of overlays, but that is an actual nightmare to do. And if you're a Patreon member, in a couple of days, you'll see the release for that. It'll be on Wednesday. Just a heads up, because I know this video comes out early for the Patreon members as well. Another little bonus you get for being a Patreon member. I used footage with Southpaw for that game, and I had to overlay almost everything, and it was one short game took me almost 4 hours to edit. It was nightmarish. So Gambit, thank you so much for letting me come over and get in some more games for this. Really saved me a ton of time here. Now, we are questing out here. I feel like if we just put the pressure on the board, we have to force him to respawn. And if he's unable to deal with our threats, it's going to be a very easy way for us to win. So we're either, hopefully, ideally, trading some characters here, or we're just going to get really far ahead. And in line with that, developing a Cinderella, something that could potentially sing. I make a tough decision here. I decide that I'm going to hard cast the whole new world. I figure I have no characters that can sing it, and so I either hard cast it now or I wait a turn and I hard cast it then, because I still won't have any characters that can sing it unless I got super lucky and top deck something. But even then, it would have to be able to shift, and I don't have any aerials. My only shift character outside of the Queen and Ariel is nothing. It's those two, and I just inked the Queen, so that wasn't going to happen. Fortunately, though, I do get Mr. Smee in hand, so I can continue to go wide here, which is just fantastic. It's exactly the game plan we're trying to be on, and having a full hand and just redeploying every turn is amazing. Picking up 2 aerials here is also fantastic. We can potentially go find more removal or another whole new world. So again, we can just reload and redeploy. And that is kind of my game plan at the moment. Kind of forcing Gambit on the back foot here. Again, he just has to respond to what I'm doing, or there's the threat of he'll just flat out lose the game to me being able to quest. That's the cool thing with the Steelsong characters. So many of them come with big butts and really decent questing capabilities, which is just huge. And I get crab checked. Actually did not see this one coming. In fact, there's another moment he plays a crab, and I had to be like, I don't know how that worked. How'd you do that? He's like, crab, it does a thing. And I'm like, it's stinking crab. Getting crab checked. And then we have a little joking moment there. Gambit has had that Finders Keepers card in his deck for some time, and he's never successfully played it to his liking. So he's laughing about maybe that doesn't need to be in the deck. Unfortunately, we do see an Elsa come down, so he had a really good turn of actually being able to check our board, which is kind of the position we put him in. So on one hand, it was expected, but on the other, it's a little bit of a bummer that he was able to do it effectively. We did, in our defense, give him 7 cards, so hopefully he would have found some answers. Now, we do have some extra ink here between the Hades and the Let It Go. We are 2 turns up. We've actually technically ramped thanks to him, so I do have the ability to just play stuff, dig a little bit, see if I want to change my mind about some things, play more stuff. Like, we can really effectively go wide. It's pretty fantastic. This aerial is a little bit of a dud. There is that world's greatest criminal mind that I talked about in the intro. There's no good spot for it here. The Blurple deck doesn't have any characters that it hits, I think, at all, at least in Gambit's particular list. So in order for it to even be viable, I'd have to have a queen in play, ready to go. And I do have one in hand, but I am looking at this whole new world here thinking, maybe I should take the whole new world? Do I need the removal? Do I need the whole new world? And then I decide, yeah, let's take the whole new world, because it's just back to that game plan I established earlier, to deploy my hand as quickly as possible and then get a brand new grip of cards and just keep the pressure going. We're just gonna put Gambit in a pressure cooker here and hope he cannot find a way out of it. So here we go, more quests. Yeah, it's possible he can just take Smee out, but those 2 points, they're worth a lot. We're already up to 10. Both of us have ramped, thanks to him, which is fantastic for me. And here it is. The Elsa does, in fact, get to take out the Smee. We knew that was going to be a thing. And then I can see in his hand, I didn't know this at the time, but he does have another Hades. Look at that. He's got goats. Did I see a genie in his hand? There's a snake. Yeah, so he can just deploy and redeploy so many of these really great threats that are tough for us to deal with. And there we're going to see it with the Elsa there getting bounced back to his hand. And what else has he got for me? He's just going to play the Elsa again. That makes sense. So we have a little bit of a moment where he's not sure if he wants to get one of my singers gone or just deal with the Lawrence now. And so that's what this brief pause is. And then we decided, yeah, he's going to go for the Lawrence, because Elsa can do the 2 damage to it, absolutely tank the hit, and then Lawrence loses all of his strength, which is fantastic for a follow-up Fox right there. It's a nice little 1-2. His deck is also running Bells, so having the extra damage on the Elsa is actually not a bad deal for him, because at some point he can potentially move that damage to another one of my characters. So he's just loading up potential removal right there. Nice little combo, little synergy in the Blurple. I don't know if you guys can tell, I really do like Blurple. I just wish it was better. It feels like it turns its wheels a lot and doesn't make a ton of progress. You'll notice he's been stuck at 3 lore for a while. Like, this entire time he's just trying to keep me back. Because if he doesn't, one really wide quest for me could spell absolute disaster for him. So he's working hard to make sure that I can't go wide and get that really big quest. And to his credit, he's doing it very well. Gambit's a very skilled player. In fact, for the set champs, Gambit has come first place in every single set champs that's come out. I don't know if he's won every single one he's ever participated in. I know he's dropped a few just for the sake of other players, but I don't think he's ever been knocked out of one, which is wild to think about. Hopefully, by the time you guys are seeing this video, for you Patreon members that are maybe seeing it live today, hopefully I'll be the guy to knock him out, because we're doing set champs. If you're watching this on YouTube on Monday when it released, maybe I'll put it in the comments if I won or not. We'll see. I'm not even sure what deck I'm playing for certain, and the tournament starts in like 12 hours. This is wild. All right, here we go. We're going wide. We're going very wide. We're just utilizing all of the ink that we have, all the ink that Gambit has given us, and now we're refilling our hand. There it is, just absolutely reloading. I'm loving this strategy. You can't always do it. It feels like in most games I play, if I hold New World, one of 2 things happens. I either draw multiple whole new worlds, which is awful because you can't play both, or an aerial will inevitably see 2 whole new worlds and I can only grab one, and then the other all of a sudden is at the bottom of the deck, and I'll never get to it. And even if I do get to it, I can't use it because it was at the bottom of the deck, and then I will lose the game. So this game is really great so far. I've been able to do my whole new worlds without running into any hiccups. So here we go. Game plan just absolutely unlocked here. Thanks to all this ink, I'm I drew 7 cards and I just dump onto the field super rapidly. And I don't know if you spotted it, there's another whole new world in my hand. So I'm ready to just do it again. The downside here, though, is that I did sing the whole new world with my aerial, and the other one is also exerted, so I'm just going to simply lose both of my aerials here. Just the fact he has a Merlin Crab and a Madamim Snake, those two can just take out the aerials without them being banished as well. And like I said, Gambit's a very good player. He will take my singers off the board for any chance he gets. And there it is. He's just going straight to the removal. It makes sense. If I can't just indiscriminately play my stuff for free, that's a good thing for him. In fact, singing songs, I have a friend who would tell you that songs are the most broken mechanic in the game. I don't know if I 100% agree with that, but songs are certainly one of the most powerful things you can do in this game. There we go. Elsa coming down. We're going to trade Smee with a Fox. I'm not thrilled about that, but I'm also not terribly bummed out because that is one Fox dealt with. And that 4 strength is obnoxious, especially when we have things like Daisy, because the Fox just gets to remove it, whereas most of his other stuff has either 2 or 3 strength, and they won't so easily deal with the Daisy. Magic Broom into Donald Duck. We're not going to get the crack on the Broom here, surprisingly. I think at this point, Gambit is starting to realize that his game plan needs to probably involve Big Elsa, the Spirit of Winter, to lock down my characters, because he doesn't necessarily need to attack into those characters that same turn, because my characters will not unfreeze during my turn. And here I am with 3 strengths of a Raging Fire, and there is a moment here where I consider one of them's going to be Ink. Do I cast the other 2? Do I sing the other 2? Or just Whole New World? I'm going to opt for the Whole New World because I'm thinking in my brain space, yeah, I could remove 2 of his characters by singing those cards, but I think the 2 lore that I'm going to get from questing will be more valuable. I think it's going to just strictly come down to that race. At a certain point, I don't know when it's right or wrong, but I've committed to my game plan so much at this point that it feels like if I deviate from it, would be a major misstep on my part. So we're going to continue to lean into go wide, quest hard. And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. We have so much ink in play. I'm doing the math here. I'm able to play Aerial, which I play Aerial first because I don't know what I'm going to find, and it could change my math on what I want to do. And a total whiff on Aerial, so it changes nothing. So now I'm just going to proceed to dump 3 more characters here. Another upside to the Steelsong list, most of the characters are fairly cheap. So when you have the opportunity to have as much ink as I have, you can just play a lot of stuff at once. I'm trying to be careful where I place my cards on the game mat. We did a little bit of testing ahead of time to find out where the glare was. You'll notice Gambit's lore counter there on the table. That's a glare spot. There he is. He just moved a Madamim next to it, and you see a huge chunk of glare show up on it. His deck is also another glare spot. So that's why he placed his deck there. So he wouldn't put other cards there and absorb that glare. For my playmat, it's actually both of the polar bear hands that have the major glare spots. So we're trying to play around those locations. Couldn't find a way to get around it, but that's what Patreon's for. We're gonna go ahead and invest a little bit into trying to find something that can help diffuse the light. Something that would ideally go on the table above our board space so the light gets evenly diffused. I don't know what that's going to look like or what that's going to cost or if that even exists, but I'm definitely going to look for one because once I realized there was a glare problem in the original footage, that was a nightmare. I had a mini panic attack, not sure what I was going to do. Here we go, callback to when I was talking about Elsa having that damage. Here comes the bell, and it's effectively a free removal. It gets rid of my aerial. So that's just been sitting there ready to go this whole time and finally happened. And then earlier, you'll remember I said something about the crab being a little tricky. Here it is, the crab challenged and traded, and then Gambit's going to go ahead and challenge my Ursula with the broom. And at first I'm like, 1 damage, that's fine. And he's like, no, it's gone. Crab trigger. I got crab twice in this game and I didn't even realize it. Stinking crab. So much on the board, so much going on, and we're drawing so many cards. It can be easy to forget about things, even when they're in play right in front of you. There's just so much information to process. And here we go. I think we're both doing the math here. I'm sitting at 14 lore, and I'm currently representing 6 on the board, so he needs to deal with a few of my characters. And with the queen there's the potential for the shift. And I don't know if he knew that I didn't have big Cinderella or not, but I imagine that would have been in the calculation as well, because if I can shift onto big queen or shift a big Cinderella, which again is not in the deck, that just spells absolute disaster for him. So those are what he's considering. So he's just sending everything, and yeah, it makes sense. My game plan is going off without a hitch. Again, it's just go wide, quest hard, and force Gambit to respond, and that's exactly what is going on. That's what's happening. The only issue is if I run out of gas, he has so much in play that it would be impossible for me to recover. It'd be 2 turns of him questing and the game would just be over. So it's critical that I don't run out of gas. So I'm doing the math here, and I can see I can get to 18. And based on what's in my hand, so we're going to quest out straight away, go to 18. I'm going to try to play as many 2 questing characters as I can. And that includes, unfortunately, a Rapunzel that doesn't heal anything, doesn't draw cards. And the only other one I have in my hand, or potentially because it has a really large butt and will be hard to deal with, is Ariel, the Sonic Warrior, a 1-of in the deck. That card I specifically played, that and of course Rapunzel, because they have such large butts that even if he could get them sideways, it would be very difficult for him to deal with everything. Now, we're both sitting here thinking the same thing. If he finds an Elsa Spirit of Winter, that's game over. He will freeze both of my 2 questing characters, annihilate the rest of my board, and begin questing. And it could just be just enough lore for him to just simply quest the following turn and end it. And we're looking at the cards in his deck. He's very low, and he does not have every Elsa found yet. There's still 1 more in the deck. So, you'll notice he's got Chernobyls in play. He has Chernobog in hand, 2 of them in hand. He's got a broom in hand. Fortunately, the ones in his hands don't do anything. But here we go. We're going to quest with the Chernobog, draw a card. Not what he's looking for. Fantastic. Now we're going to deploy that magic broom because he needs the Elsa. We both know it. If he doesn't find Big Elsa, he just loses this game. At least that's what I'm thinking from my side of the table. I can only see his hand when I'm doing the voiceover here, not when we're actually playing. So the only thing I'm thinking about is I think Spirit of Winter is the only way I'll lose this. The scary bit is, yeah, his deck is thin and there's still 1 more Elsa. So plays a broom to trash a broom, plays a Chernobog to trash the second broom, draws the wrong Elsa, and I think that's it. I think he's out of gas. His other potential problem would be, even if he could find a way to draw cards, it would cost him ink, and then he potentially couldn't afford to play Big Elsa. So we're having a brief conversation about, did you find it? Did you get it? Is there any way you can get rid of my 2 characters? The answer's no, so he flips his deck. Elsa's on the bottom. No way he could have got it. And that is it. He concedes. Going into game 2, we are now playing against Emerald Steel. This was another question. So a little benefit for Gambit is he is good at the game, and he's good at many of the decks. So his question was, effectively, what am I going to play for set champs? And he has a handful of decks he's picking between. So for him, this was an opportunity to get to test the Emerald Steel and see if it really is where he wants it to be. I believe he is running Zan's list from Nationals, the North American one. And I can't remember if he made any changes or not. I want to say he did make a simple change just to make the inking a little more consistent, but not a major one, not a major change. Maybe 1 or 2 cards tops. So I'm also interested in this because historically for me, the only deck I can consistently beat Emerald Steel with is with Emerald Steel. And so for me, I'm wanting to prove 2 things here. I want to prove that the Steelsong can take it down, and I want to prove to him that maybe Emerald Steel isn't the solid choice for him to play. That way I don't have to play against it during the set champs. Because I really don't want to. Like I said, historically, it's tough for me to beat it. And I don't want to play against it. So I really want to win this one. I really want to show him, hey, don't play that deck. And the flip side is, if I can beat him with ease, then maybe I just run this deck for the set champs. Maybe. I am thinking about running my Ruby Amethyst list. I have a Maui Shark burn deck that I've just been absolutely loving. And apart from Steelsong and Emerald Steel, I have gone largely undefeated with it, which is amazing. So that's what I'm thinking about playing. So here we are. I've established Cinderella. I'm establishing a Gaston, some Questers and Daisy, and I'm just looking at... I wanted to play the Whole New World, and the Ursula snaked it from me. So now I'm just having this immediate gut-wrench reaction of, uh-oh, I'm gonna be stuck on 3 ink this whole game, maybe 4 if I can get it, and just hope to have the removal and get around him. So we're gonna have to play very carefully. And now I see a Prince John, and that's another sign that, like, hey, I can't keep anything in my hand, and there it is, sudden chill. Now my hand is officially gone. I have nothing in hand, 3 ink, and my board is full. So I had very high hopes at the start of this game, and just like that, they were dashed. Emerald Steel is just absolutely brutal. Fortunately here, I do top deck a queen, which I can shift, and so I do so, and we're going to quest with it. I'm going to reduce the strength of his Ursula, increase the strength of Cinderella, and I'm going to get that character out of there just so it can be gone, slow him down from potentially questing. I'm already at 10 lore. Already at 10. Like, we are halfway to victory already. The problem is I have no hand and I have 3 ink. And not everything in my deck costs 3 or less. There are many cards that cost more than that. So it's going to be a battle of luck here. If I top deck a Whole New World at any point, Gaston can sing it thanks to his singer ability. And that would be huge for me. I would probably almost certainly win this game if I can top deck a Whole New World. Now, if Gaston ever disappears, I will not be able to sing the Whole New World. And like I said, stuck at 3 ink, that's an issue. My other option is to, maybe I can draw an Ariel, and Ariel can find the Whole New World, and he won't have an answer for me in the event that Gaston ever gets banished. I draw a Pete here. Pete's really nice because green still has a lot of actions. Pete does shut him down for a turn, so my characters are going to largely survive this, which is great. Get rid of the Prince John, that way he's not questing hard on me. And then continue to quest with my other characters. I mean, we're up to 13. I'm feeling pretty solid. He's not going to have removal, so he's going to have to basically rely on attacking if he really wants to deal with any of my characters this turn. I do see that he does have a Muses. Again, though, no actions this turn, so Muses isn't going to be the most important thing, but he can put it down this turn. I think, though, he does play something else and saves the Muses to try to trip me up on a future turn. And here it is. This is a smart play by him. He's going to actually play Pete and prevent me from being able to play actions. So in the event I even top deck the Whole New World, I won't be able to play it. There it is. There's the Peter. The Peter Griffin. Nice little synergy there. It gets him through the turn where he can't play actions, stops me from potentially doing the Whole New World, and sets him up so next turn he can just simply play his removal, play his Muses, play his songs, and start bouncing my stuff. We do get a little lucky here, though. Gambit does miss one Diablo trigger, only one, which is rare. I've never seen him actually miss those triggers before. He does miss a Diablo trigger, and at some point in this game, he will miss one of his Muse's triggers, which is also fantastic. Not that he couldn't do the triggers, just that he missed them. And there I go. I'm thinking, hey, this game's looking really good. I'm just going to quest out. He needs to deal with my board. If he can't, he's in a lot of trouble. And we're at 16. I'm just going to try to close the game here. We even laugh about it there, where we're like, am I going to get through this with 3 ink? That'd be wild. 3 ink and no hand. And then I see the Muses and my heart shatters into a million pieces, because immediately my brain goes, oh, we lose the game. The game is over. And just like that, he gets rid of Gaston, my last potential hope to sing A Whole New World. So with 3 ink, I won't be able to sing A Whole New World. I won't be able to play A Whole New World. I won't be able to ink A Whole New World. It'll just be stuck if I draw it. So we actually don't want to draw it now, which is sucky, to say the least. Now I'm looking at my board, and I'm thinking, I could get to 18 on my turn, or I can get to 17 and hold on to Cindy on the off chance that he can't deal with it, or maybe, the Pete. We're going to hold back Pete, because Cindy can be bounced by the Muses, so it didn't feel safe no matter what. I didn't want it to simply get bounced. We're going to just hard cast this here, because I can quest, and I have nothing else in my hand. Like I said, I'm top decking. Get rid of the Diablo, which is great. Thankfully, the 1 damage it got from attacking earlier, plus the 2 damage, gets rid of it. Slow down his card draw a little bit. This is where I'm thinking about it. Do I quest with both or just the Cindy? Ideally, I probably would have skipped questing with both of them if it wasn't for the Muses. If I don't quest with Cindy here, it's going to get bounced to my hand, and then I'm never going to get the point out of it. So I opt to get the point right now. Now, Gambit does have what feels like a full grip. He's getting got extra cards off the Diablo finally. He gets so much value out of the Muses. A majority of my characters are vulnerable to the Muse trigger, unfortunately. I don't have that many 3 strength things, so it's a little tough. He gets down to Calhoun. It's a fantastic card for him here because it does allow him to remove my stuff and gain lore at the same time, and that's problematic. Drops a Mr. Smee, another card we don't necessarily want to see. Hopefully, though, if my characters are sideways for him to attack them, it means they've quested and I'm on my way to just winning anyway. This is such a back and forth game for me. There's moments where I'm like, oh, I just flat out lose, and other moments where I'm like, if my guy just lives a turn, I will win. And that's what this whole game felt like. We went from this awesome curve to play A Whole New World and just absolutely wreck him to he took the Whole New World and my whole hand, as a matter of fact, and that was it. I find the Whole New World with an aerial. The only thing now is aerial just needs to not be bounced. If aerial does not bounce, thanks to the Muses, we can do this. So no bounce and no discard. The downside is he knows we have a Whole New World. Aerial has to reveal it. So if he has any song at all, or remove or discard, which is also likely a song, then he pretty much has us at this point. So it comes down to this. What does he have? What does he have? What does he have? Any song is bad because Ariel can't sing. So any song is just a death sentence. And we are playing against a very song-heavy deck, unfortunately. So my hopes aren't high, but my fingers are crossed. Unfortunately, there it is. He plays an I'm Still Here. Gives Calhoun resist 2, which gives it a total of resist 3. He now gets to bounce aerial, so I can't sing the Whole New World. And then on top of that, because Calhoun has resist 3, he gets to take out Pete without taking any damage on Calhoun. So this gets rid of my character and gains him lore. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Is there any world where I can play aerial? Oh, no. There it is. There it is. Can't play aerial. Hope for it to survive and get the Whole New World. Have to discard a card. So I discard the Whole New World. I know that's off camera, but I discard the Whole New World because I can't play it. I can, however, play aerial. I was doing some math here, forgetting that those 3 characters could quest. And that for me was I did not calculate the fact that they could still quest that turn. And that's going to do it. There's nothing I can find here. I'm telling him, I wish I was looking for a Sonic Warrior. I was hoping Ariel would survive, not get bounced, shift the Sonic Warrior. And then he reminded me I didn't have enough ink anyway. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I've been stuck at 3 ink this whole game. What a nightmare. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.